Yo, what is good people, Ben from Lover of Tech, and we are back with another video. This time is a camera comparison between the Honor 90 and the Pixel 7a. They pretty much sit around the same price, so which one is worth it when it comes to photos and videos? So we're going to go through that with daylight and low light for the front facing camera and the back cameras and see how they compare. Let's do a quick breakdown of the camera hardware and specs, starting with the Honor 90. It is using a 200 megapixel main sensor, a 12 megapixel ultra wide, and a 2 megapixel depth sensor with a 50 megapixel selfie. The Pixel 7a is using a 64 megapixel main sensor, a 13 megapixel ultra wide, and a 13 megapixel selfie. The best way to watch this camera comparison is at the highest resolution at 4K 60 with headphones on the largest display. There will be chapters in the description for you to get to the section that you want, but definitely sit back, relax, and watch it all and see how the results look. So we're starting things off with the front facing camera, and both are recording in 4K UHD 30 frames a second, which is the maximum resolution that it can record in. Just seeing how the image quality stabilization is like. Quick run. We've now switched to the 1080p 30 frames per second video recorder mode. And again, just seeing how the image quality stabilization, dynamic range is like. Quick run. We've now switched to the 1080p video recorder mode, but this time with 60 frames a second. And we're just seeing how the image quality, dynamic range, and stabilization is like. Quick run. So we are now in the 4K UHD 30 frames a second video recorder mode on both the Honor 90 and the Pixel 7a. This time with the rear cameras. Just seeing how the image quality, stabilization, and dynamic range is like. Quick run. Okay, we are able to switch to the ultra wide on both our recording. The transition on the Pixel 7a does look smoother, but overall you can switch to both. And quick run. Back to the main camera. Again, a smoother transition on the Pixel. Just going to do a small walk. The digital ×2 zoom. Here's the thing between the two. You can take pictures while you're recording. You can pause the recording and continue on the same clip. But what the advantage you have with the Honor 90 is you're able to switch to the selfie camera while recording in 4K 30 on the same clip. Here, as you can see, 4K 30 on the selfie camera, still recording on the same clip. That is brilliant. And then you can flip back to the rear camera and continue on the same clip. This is a limitation. You do not have this on a Pixel 7a. This is fantastic to see. So we've now switched to the 1080p 30 frames per second video recorder mode on the Honor 90 and the Pixel 7a. Just testing on the rear cameras. Again, seeing how the image quality and the stabilization changes. Quick run. Switching to the ultra wide. Quick run. And again, the advantage you have with the Honor 90 is you can switch to the selfie camera 1080p 30 while recording on the same clip. So we've now switched over to the 4K 60 frames per second video recorder mode on the Pixel 7a. This is something you can't do on the Honor 90. It's limited to 4K 30. And although limited to just the main camera lens, you can shoot in 4K 60 on the Pixel 7a. Quick run. So we are now in the 1080p 60 frames a second video recorder mode on both the Honor 90 and the Pixel 7a. And again, just seeing the limitations, how the image quality, dynamic range, and also stabilization is like. Quick run. Okay, so first limitation with the Honor 90 is you cannot switch to the ultra wide in 1080p 60. But on the Pixel 7a, you can switch to the ultra wide in 1080p 60. So that's a great advantage there. We go to the main sensor on the Pixel 7a. You still have the advantage of being able to switch to the selfie for 1080p 60 on the Honor 90. And back to the main sensor. So we are in the 4K UHD 30 frames a second video recorder mode, but this time on a rear camera, just with me in the subject of the frame, pretty much seeing how it handles a human subject in a frame, image quality, dynamic range, detail, and stabilization. Still in the 4K UHD 30 frames a second video recorder mode, but this time with the ultra wide. And just seeing how the image quality differs between the two when shooting 4K 30 on the ultra wide lenses and camera. So we're now recording in the 1080p 30 frames a second video recorder mode with the rear camera, with me in the frame as the subject. The difference is the Honor 90 is using video portrait mode. The default bokeh blur strength is f4.0. You can make it stronger or weaker, but this is one advantage the Honor 90 does have compared to the Pixel 7a. So we are in 1080p 30 frames a second video recorder mode. I wanted to showcase and compare the Honor 90's video capabilities compared to the Pixel 7a for a moment, just to really drive home how much more flexible and fun it is. This is multi-video. And what's interesting about this is that you've got so much control. Yes, it's limited to 1080p 30 frames a second, but as you can see, this is recording with the front-facing camera and the rear camera at the same time. And in fact, you can change the focal lengths. You can then change how it's actually doing multi-video while it's recording. This is picture-in-picture, which allows you to change the focal lengths, zoom in. This is both the ultra wide and the main rear camera at the same time. It's still recording. Back to front and rear. You can go straight to the rear, come to the front. This is ridiculously flexible and really, really good. This is multi-video on the Honor 90. Now we are in the 4K UHD 30 frames a second video recording mode. Let's see in the low light performance with the rear cameras. And stopping, then switching to the ultra wide on both. And back to the main lens. Now we're shooting in a 4K UHD 30 frames a second video recorder mode using a selfie camera to see how the low light performance is like. Let's start things off with the daytime landscape photos, starting with the ultra wide images. You can see the Pixel 7a does have a slightly wider field of view and also carries slightly more detail and clarity. Moving to the main wide sensor, the Honor 90 looks to have slightly better dynamic range, more vibrant image, and a sharper final image. In the 2x digital zoom mode, things translate to pretty much be the same. This does make sense as they are cropping in from the main sensor, with the pixel resolving a cleaner image around the text with less moire. At the extended digital zoom range, the Honor 90 does have further reach at 10x compared to 8x on the Pixel 7a, but thanks to the Pixel Super Res Zoom tech, it does have a slightly cleaner image. Thanks to the 200 megapixel sensor, one advantage the Honor 90 does have is a high resolution photo mode. When used in the right lighting condition, it can render excellent natural detail. Here are some close-up shots, and in this case, the Honor 90 has an auto macro switching feature, which makes it very difficult to know the minimum focus of the main wide sensor and see how much natural blur you can achieve, which meant in this case, the Pixel 7a produced a better image. However, thanks to the Honor 90 having a macro mode, it can get much closer to the flower, which is something that is lacking on the Pixel 7a. Let's move over to the front-facing cameras, and both the Honor 90 and the Pixel 7a have the ability to shoot in a standard wide and ultra wide field of view. Both produce great images, but I will say the Pixel 7a does produce more accurate and pleasing skin tones with a slightly more detailed image, but the margins are slim here. In portrait mode, the Pixel 7a still has the ability to shoot in the ultra wide mode, but both have great blur and edge detection, with the Honor 90 taking the edge in this one. Last set of daylight shots using the rear cameras with me in the frame as the subject both produce great images, with the Honor 90 pushing a more vibrant image with great clarity on both, but I will say I prefer the look of the Pixel 7a more thanks to the better skin tones. When moving to the main wide sensor, things pretty much translate to be the same as before, but I will say the Honor 90 claws it back ever so slightly with better skin tones compared to the ultra wide. When using portrait mode, although I still like the skin tones and look of the Pixel 7a, the overall image of the Honor 90 is much preferred, with a wider field of view, better edge detection, and a slightly more pleasing background blur. Let's move over to the low light images with the landscape shots to start things off. The main wide sensor on the Honor 90 looks to produce a cleaner and brighter image overall. Both do struggle when moving over to the ultra wide, but the Honor 90 holds an overall better image. For the nighttime selfies, the Honor 90 does produce a better image with more detail, less noise, and better colors. Night mode does clean up the image a lot better on the Pixel 7a, but with a major color shift that still favors the Honor 90. When moving to portrait mode, this translates to pretty much be the same as before. Last set of low light images using the rear cameras with me in the frame as the subject. With the main wide sensor, I will say I still prefer the overall look of the Honor 90. When moving to the ultra wide, although the Pixel 7a produces a much more noisy image, I still prefer the look of the Pixel 7a due to the extreme color shift on the Honor 90. Closing things off with the portrait mode, I will still give the overall win to the Honor 90, but let me know in the comment section below if you agree or disagree and which one you prefer. Let's now conclude with the video performance, starting off with the selfie. And in terms of overall quality, both phones are neck and neck, with a lot of cases where it's really down to personal choice and what you prefer, as both have the same recorder modes for the selfie. The Pixel 7a does have better colors on my skin tones with slightly more natural looking stabilization, while the Honor 90 produces a more natural background blur. When it comes to the rear cameras for video, props to Google for the Pixel 7a having the ability to shoot 4K 60 FPS, making it still one of only phones to have this feature at this price point. But the overall star of the show when it comes to video has got to be the Honor 90. Yes, some limitations are there, like not being able to shoot 1080p 60 FPS on the ultra wide, which you can do on the Pixel 7a, but the Honor 90 allows you to switch lenses to the selfie and back to the rear camera all on the same clip, and the ability to choose the different multi-video modes while recording on the same clip is awesome. That is it with this ultimate camera comparison between the Honor 90 versus the Pixel 7a. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. That's it for me, Ben from Lover of Tech. If you enjoy videos like this, you know exactly what to do. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you're part of Team TLS to Tech Lover Squad so you don't miss any future videos on the channel. I hope you're all safe during this time. I will catch you in the next one. Peace.